Class fees at Tacoma Community College range from $6 to $65 per class. Now, there's a number of things they're going to ask us to do with that information. First, we're going to find a formula for the total cost of fees F for taking C classes with a $6 class fee. And then we're going to find a formula for the total cost of fees G for taking D classes with a $65 class fee. Then we're going to find a formula for the total cost of fees T, and we're going to put the information together. C classes with a $6 class fee and D classes with a $65 class fee. Once we find that formula, we're going to put in some values and we're going to figure out what our result means. So lots of pieces going on in this problem. So let's get started. So we're going to start off by finding a formula. We're looking for a formula, so that means we're looking for an equation for the total cost of fees F. So our equation is going to be the total cost of fees F for taking C classes with a $6 class fee. Well, if every class that I take has a $6 class fee, if I was taking one class, it would only cost $6 for fees, right? And if I was taking, say, two classes, it would cost me $12 in fee. So notice that the fees, the total fees, are going to be $6 for each class fee, and then I would multiply that by the number of classes that I was taking. So we can write the total cost of the fees, F, as 6 times C, or just 6C. So that would be $6 for every class. If I multiply that by the number of classes, that would tell me my total fees. This next problem, we're going to say, well, what if we weren't taking those cheap class fees? We were taking the ones with the more expensive class fees, so the $65 class fees. So now we want to find the total cost of fees. And notice that we're giving it a different variable this time. Up here, we were talking about the total cost of fees as F, but now we're talking about it as G. And again, we're looking for a formula, so we know we're looking for an equation. So what would the total cost of fees G be if I was taking D classes with a $65 class fee? Well, if D is the number of classes, it would be $65 for each one of those classes. And if I'm taking D classes, it would get multiplied by D to give me the total cost of the fees. So there are my first two formulas. Now this last one is going to crank it up just a little bit more. Let's read this problem carefully. We're going to find a formula for the total cost of fees. And again, we're giving it another variable name now. This time we're going to call it T. And we're going back to the idea of C classes with a $6 fee and D classes with a $65 class fee. So we're basically going to be putting this information together. We're still finding a formula, so we're finding an equation. What's the equation going to tell us? It's going to tell us the total cost of fees, and that's my T right here. So T is going to equal C classes with a $6 fee. Well, remember that was this information that we saw up here in Part A. The cost for those classes would be 6C, and D classes with a $65 class fee. Well, that was the information that we got from up here. That was my 65, that was the cost for those $65 classes. And we're taking both of these, and so we want to be adding them together to give us the formula for the total cost. And let's just be sure that we know what all of these variables represent again. So T, what did T equal? T was the total fees cost. So the total cost of fees. And what was C? C was the number of $6 fee classes. It's really important that we're able to say what our variables represent. And D is the number of $65 fee classes. I'm sorry, my classes up on that last one didn't look very good here, so let me just clean that up a little bit. $66 classes here. Okay, so that's what each one of those variables represents, and here's my formula. So that allows me to just bring some extra information into play here. So we've got a lot of things going on in this formula. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to use this formula that we just found here in part C, and we're going to put in some values for it. So they're asking us to have T equal 136, and they're asking us to have D equal 2. So let's go ahead and substitute those values into the formula. T is 136. So that equals, the next part of the formula would be 6C. And since we don't have any information about C, we're going to go ahead and just leave that put, 6C. And then plus 65D. Well, remember they told us that D was going to be 2. So we're going to write that as 65. And instead of D, we're going to put in the value they gave us for D, which was 2. Now we're going to, remember they asked us here to find the value of C. So we need to solve this for C. So let's do that. I'm just going to extend my page a little bit. So, oops, sorry about that. We're going to extend the pages so we have a little bit more space to write here. So 136, we're going to solve this equation for C. But we have to simplify the right side first. So 6C plus, well, 65 times 2 would be 130. Okay. Now the right side is simplified, and so let's work on getting the C by itself. So we're going to subtract 130 from both sides to start working on getting that C alone, isolating the C variable. When we do that, the 130s are going to cancel out, and that's going to leave me with 6 on the left side, and on the right side, we're going to have 6 times C. Now to get C by itself, we're going to divide both sides by 6. And that's going to tell us that we've got 1 equal to C, or C equals 1. So we found the value for C. Don't leave it there, though. Be sure you answer the question. What does your result mean in this situation? Well, we had lots of information here, so let's see if we can summarize all of this in a sentence or two. So we're just going to type this in down here. So what does this mean? So remember they told us that T was 136. What did T represent? Well, I can't remember now. Let's go back up and see. T was the total cost of fees. Okay, so my total cost of fees, when the total cost of fees is $136, and so it's a cost, so that's talking about a number of dollars, right? And I'm taking, now D was 2. Do you remember what D represented? If not, let's go back up here. Here's my information about D. D is the number of $65 fee classes. And so I'm taking, D was 2. I'm taking 2 classes with a $65 fee each. I would be taking only 1 class with a $6 fee. Now this does a nice job to summarizing all that information that we were asked to put together. Very important that you can track back and look at the problem and say, where have I been? What have I done? How does all of this pull together to give me some useful information? And there it is.